Well, so those of you that are attending colleges know what financial aid letter is. You all seen it. You've seen this document. That's a document that financial aid office sends to you, and it could be quite confusing. Every single year when I work with students and parents, we get a lot of questions about how can I understand my financial aid letter. Are there any guidelines? What should I be aware? And this is what we're going to discuss in today's presentation. Financial aid letter is a document that financial aid office sends to students after the students apply for financial aid, and the document will list what types of financial aid the student is eligible to receive. Sometimes you will hear that as referred as financial aid package. Now, the time frame when financial aid packets are mailed varies by the school. Some schools could mail it as early as December. Some schools mail it in January, February, or March. It depends whether the school is here in Maryland or out of state. It depends on what processing system the school uses. Now, if you live in Maryland and you attend one of the Maryland colleges here, in addition to receiving a financial aid letter from a school, you may also be receiving a letter from Maryland Higher Education Commission. And the letter from Maryland Higher Education Commission is separate from a letter from the school that you attend or plan to attend. A lot of schools now send award letters via email. When I went to school, all letters, went out via regular mail. But now more and more schools, choose to email their letters. And what schools do is some schools will email letters to students that are currently attending the institution. Some schools will give both applicants and students a user ID and a password to a website that you could go in and you could view your financial aid. Now, it's a good option, but the biggest drawback is that if a parent wants to see an award letter, the parent needs to have access to the website or to student email address to see the financial aid letter. So what some colleges do, and we one of them, we mail hard copies of award letters to our prospective students, and then we email letters to students that are coming back for fall or spring. So you always need to double check with school. Are they going to email you the letter, or they're going to send you to the website, or they're going to mail you the letter? Because one of the common reasons why you may be waiting for your letter, but the letter has not arrived yet, is that the email came to you, and somehow you skipped that email and were not aware that the email had a link to your award letter. When you receive your financial aid packet, you need to know that generally, there are 4 types of financial aid: scholarships, grants, loans, and work study. And that's what you should see on your financial aid award letter. The way the financial aid officers operate is that the financial aid award letter is designed to fill the gap between on how much it costs to go to school, and we call this cost of attendance, and your expected family contribution. Expected family contribution is a number that is calculated by Department of Education after you filled out a FAFSA application. The financial aid award letters are based on your financial need. So financial aid officers will calculate your need and determine, what type of assistance you could qualify, and assistance will be listed on award letter. The biggest challenge that students and parents have with award letters is that there is no standard format. So if receiving a letter from multiple schools, or even if it's one school, it could be really confusing if you don't know how to read your award letter. Another reason why the letters are confusing is that the colleges may not disclose the true cost of attending the college. Sometimes you may receive an award letter and all you see is just numbers listed, what you qualified to receive, but the letter does not list how much it cost you to go to school. And I know it happened to me. I received a letter. The letter stated this is how much money I qualified to receive, but there was no indication on the letter, how much it's going to cost me to go to school. Colleges sometimes will list, some items of cost of attendance and not list the other items. Like for instance, I worked with family last week and they had an award letter from 2 schools, and one school listed everything while the other school only listed, items like tuition and room and board, and did not list other expenses that a student will have. Sometimes a financial aid award letter could be misleading because of abbreviations that we use in financial aid. You look in the letter and all it says is subsidized loan. You don't know what this is. There is no explanation what type of a loan it is, if it's a federal loan or a private loan. Sometimes you look in the letter and all it says federal grant. Again, no explanation. One of the institutions that, I worked at, before, our computer system did not allow us to list the full name of financial aid award, so when a letter went out, all it said, a plus loan. And students and parents did not know that this was actually a loan for parents that they had to apply for, and the letter didn't explain really well. Now, it was not done intentionally. It was a system problem that we had. The system did not allow us to include more characters in our financial aid award letter. So when you look in a letter, you need to know, is the true cost of attending college listed there? Do I understand what I have to pay back and what is free? Now, some colleges, have a policy of what they call front-loading grants. What that means is that some colleges may give more free money to first-year students and less money, to the juniors and seniors. So when you work with a school, or if you are already in college, you need to ask financial aid office, what's the likelihood that I'll get to keep the same financial aid packet next year? Because it is likely that what you have your first year in school will not be available to you the second year. So some colleges, do that, and some colleges may tell you that, first come, first served basis, or, you have to meet the deadline and you will be considered for money that we have available. So you have to be careful, because your award letter from your first year in college may not be the same as your award letter when you go into your sophomore or junior year. Sometimes students don't know that they have to sign a letter and send it back to the college. Some colleges will require students to sign an award letter and send it back. And if you don't sign a letter, your financial aid will be canceled. So, yes?
Is that the same as acceptance requirement?
Yes. Some colleges will require you to accept the financial aid packet, and some colleges will not.
So that's the same as
Yes, 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 yes.
I received a letter that said from MHEC saying that my financial aid was going to be canceled because I wasn't accepting my award. But I did accept my Pell Grant and like the Distinguished Scholar Award. I just didn't accept like any of the, like, I guess, government subsidized loans or anything like that. And I don't know why I keep getting that letter. And also a problem is that I put in a deposit at both Hopkins and University of Maryland because I haven't decided which school I'm going to yet till I find out whether or not I get the full scholarship, which I don't find out till August 31st. And then I'm getting...
You will get an award letter from a school, but you will get a separate award letter from Maryland Higher Education Commission, and they're independent from schools. So what you need to do is you need to go to their website and you need to accept your state award that they gave you. And even though...
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I did try to do that, and I'm not able to do it online. And when I've called, it's this like looping like thing. So I can't get in touch with them, and I'm getting correspondence, but I'm not able to call them, and their
I know.
website's not working properly.
Why don't we do, at the end of the presentation, if you have your user ID and a password, we'll try to go to MDCAP's website and see why you can't get in, because all you have to do is just accept your state award, and even though you deposited in 2 schools, you can't accept the state money for 2 schools. You have to accept it only for 1 school. And then, let's say you accept it for Hopkins, but you decide to go to University of Maryland. You could change it in August. You can simply go to the state website again in August and just transfer money from Hopkins to University of Maryland, or vice versa. But we will have a break between the next session, and we can try it. If we have access to internet, we can try it. But I've seen students having problems with a website, but I'll be more than glad to help you. But it's a separate award letter. So even though you accepted, a Pell Grant and other aid, you have to do a separate acceptance for state money, because they have a separate award letter.
Well, we don't have internet here. But
We don't have internet here?
no,
Well, I thought there was something here, it showed wireless. We can try on this laptop. Yes.
I was gonna say, I went over that site because I'm looking at
Hmm.
certain things. And they break down what your last name begins with,
Hmm.
of who you're supposed to contact.
They do that too.
Okay, and even though that particular person wasn't in the office with the phone number or the email, I then, I contacted someone else who was in another, and she actually phoned me back. She phoned me back and asked if she could help. So you just have to you have to make the contact, don't go through
The
big
regular
email
telephone
thing.
number, because
Go
it is.
through
Yeah.
those other ones because I think there's too many people.
And they will get in touch with you. They will get in touch with you. One of the things you just need to know is that this is a very busy time, and they are getting a lot of calls and a lot of emails. But if you send them an email, they'll respond to you. And I agree with you, it's a great idea to contact a specific person instead of calling a general number, because, like you said, you have all those options available to you, and at the end, your problem isn't resolved. So we'll try it on this laptop. Yes.
The Maryland Higher Education Commission, is that for all colleges in Maryland, or is that just for public universities?
It's for all Maryland schools, private and public, community colleges, and 4-year schools.
And does the school have to be enrolled into that, or can any student?
Well, colleges in Maryland have to be approved by Maryland Higher Education Commission to offer academic programs in Maryland. So students that attend any Maryland schools, could qualify for money from state of Maryland. As long as you live in Maryland, you are a legal resident of Maryland, and you attend one of the Maryland schools, you could qualify for state money. Thank you. Those were, wonderful questions. So keep in mind that award letters, could require your signature, and you have to send it back. Some colleges will give you the deadline to accept aid, and if you don't accept it by the deadline, the college has a right to cancel your aid and give money to other students. But a lot of colleges, don't ask you to sign a letter. Only thing they will ask you is that if you want to cancel something or decline something, that's when you have to respond to the letter. So how do you evaluate an award letter, especially when you have an award letter from multiple schools? The number one thing is how much it will cost to go to school. And not only you need to know the tuition that the school will charge you, but also do you have to pay fees? What will your books cost? If you plan to live on campus, what will be your room and board charges? If you plan to commute, what will be your rental expenses? What will be your estimated transportation expenses? You truly need to know the cost of attending college. And you have to, if you can't find that information on the letter that college sent you, the first thing is that you can take a look on other paperwork that college sent you, or you could call the financial aid office or visit their website. That information has to be accessible to you. And that's information that you're going to use to determine what's the cost of attending school. Second, you need to determine how much gift money have you been given. And gift money includes scholarships and grants. So you want to take a look, how much free money do I have? Because the free assistance that is available to students usually is not enough to cover everything. And you have to supplement, the remaining cost, either with taking out a loan or using your own savings or applying for private scholarships or even doing a payment plan. The next thing you need to look at is that how much is student loan money I'm expected to borrow. Depending if you're a first-year student or you're a student going, to graduate school, or you're a junior or a senior, the amount of a student loans that are available to you will not be the same. Usually, first-year students are eligible to borrow from a federal government $5,500 a year, while somebody pursuing a PhD or a master's degree could borrow $20,500 a year from government. Now, we have School of Pharmacy, and our pharmacy students could borrow up to $33,000 a year just from Department of Education. So the amount of student loans that is available to you, varies whether you're a first-year student, a grad student, or a professional student. You also need to look at what's your bottom line. Do you have to pay anything out of pocket? Or will your financial aid packet cover everything? You receive the financial aid packet and you look at all the numbers, and unless you know the cost of attending school, you won't know if you have to pay out of pocket or your financial aid covers everything. One of the things that financial aid officers sometimes discuss with families is that definition of a net cost versus out-of-pocket cost. And the easiest way I can explain things to you is out-of-pocket cost only looks at the difference between cost of going to college minus all scholarship money and grant money you received. So that's your out-of-pocket cost. So for example, if a college costs $30,000 a year and you received a scholarship of $10,000, then your out-of-pocket cost is $20,000. Net cost looks at things a little bit differently. The way the net cost looks is we look at cost of attendance, and let's say again it's $30,000 and you have a scholarship of $10,000, but the college had also offered you a need-based loan for $5,000. So that your net cost then is $15,000, because the net cost looks at all financial aid that you've been given based on your need. So it excludes some loans. It excludes loans that are not based on your need. Loans like unsubsidized loan and a federal plus loan. And what you find is that if you're looking in multiple schools, you'll find that in many cases your net cost will be about the same, because the net cost is related to your expected family contribution. Your out-of-pocket cost will not be the same, because there are other loans that you could borrow, from one school. And for example, one school may offer you a Perkins loan, while the other school does not participate in the Perkins loan. One school may offer you a PLUS loan, and the other school does not participate in PLUS loan. So it varies by the school. One of the things I always advise students and parents is that you want to compare apples to apples. You may be looking at multiple institutions, and one school may give you a larger scholarship and the other school may give you a smaller scholarship. But the reason that happens is because one school costs more and another school costs less. So the schools that cost more tends to give you more money. But at the end, your net cost or your out-of-pocket cost between two schools may come out to be the same. So that's one thing to know. Yes. Yes.
My first year, I was offered undergraduate. The second year, I got a Perkins. Now the third year is not there. What, I don't understand.
Well, Perkins loan is a very unique financial aid program, and the reason it's unique, it works as what I call a revolving fund. So the funding is very limited, and it comes from students who have Perkins loan and they pay it back. So there is a very limited pot of money available, and financial aid officers, give it to students with a high financial need. Some colleges don't even have Perkins money available to give out, because not a lot of students are paying Perkins back. So the fact that you got it, your second year means that perhaps that second year there were more money available to give out. Yes. When you look in your financial aid letters, sometimes you want to take a look, what percent of my financial aid is given to me in free money. You also want to take a look at things like work study. Work study, if it's listed on your financial aid packet, it's not the money that's going to come to school to pay for your bill. It's the money that you actually have to earn. So if you have a work study listed as a part of your financial aid packet, you need to know that you will have to get a job on campus or off campus, and you will have to earn this money, and you'll get a paycheck. You may get a paycheck every 2 weeks, or you'll get a paycheck every month, but this is not something that will go directly to the college to pay for your charges. Now, right now there are a lot of websites that will give you resources to compare, information from multiple colleges. You could compare things like, what's the average institutional grant the student received in this school compared to another school? What's the average student loan the student received in school A compared to school B? And I gave you those two websites because financial aid officers, we have to report to a lot of agencies, and we have to send them a lot of information, and that information becomes available to public. So you could go to the websites that I've listed, and you could take a look, what's the average packet in one school compared to another school. One of the things that I wanted to speak to you today is the design of financial aid letter. One of the reasons it's confusing is because there's a lot of text, a lot of information, and sometimes the information is not presented in a format that is very consumer friendly. So what you see on this slide is our letter, the way it looked a few years ago. And if you look in our letter, we have a lot of text, a lot of information, and we used to collect student signature as well. And it was really, really confusing to a lot of students and parents. There was no separation between grants and loans. We had to manually update every single letter whenever the housing status changed. And like I said, it was really confusing for a lot of students. Every single year they would call us with questions. So we redesigned our award letter. And the way we redesigned our award letter, as you could see, is that we actually removed the text. And we divided our financial aid award letter into what I would call multiple parts. The first part that we divided our award letter, we listed all grants and scholarships separately. So it's no longer confusing for students. They will know if they qualified for any grants or scholarships because they listed on a separate, part of the award letter. Any student loans are listed separately as well. And other resources, such as work study and a PLUS loan, are listed separately as well. Now, several years ago, we did not list our cost of attendance, but now we list it. And not only we listed, just like one number, what we did is that we actually listed as a separate item for tuition, separate one for fees, separate one for books, transportation, and other personal expenses. We also listed things like what we anticipate student to be, a resident or commuter. And at the bottom of financial aid award letter, we listed a link to our website. And we have a website now that students could go in, and it actually tells them step by step what steps they need to receive. Because even though you may have the award letter in your hand and you think you have all this money coming to you, there could be other steps that you need to complete. And that's why we want students to go to our website and just to view step 1, step 2, step 3, what other steps they have to complete. Again, because just because things are listed, doesn't mean that this money will come to school and pay for your bill at school. You still have to complete some other steps. In our financial aid award letter, we also listed that, the letter could change. Now, how many of you had changes in your letter? You may get a letter and you think you have all this money, and then, months later, 2 months later, things could change. So financial aid letters could be adjusted. And one of the most common reasons for letters to be adjusted is that if you received a scholarship from outside company and the financial aid office was not aware about the scholarship right away, we have to, we have to adjust your aid, and we have to, make an adjustment to your financial aid packet. So this is our old letter versus new letter. And now we actually email our letters to our returning students. We used to mail letters, and this year we actually now email our letters to students, yes.
I have a question, what you just said. That happened to us in my daughter's sophomore year in college. We got an award night. Financial aid department awarded X amount of dollars. Then, down the road, we got a scholarship. The financial aid department then took away the money that was, why do they do that?
Well,
I mean, if it's based on need-based, I mean, whether we got a scholarship or not, why does that into the picture with financial aid?
well, the unfortunate part is that financial aid officers are regulated by very strict federal regulations. And federal regulations require financial aid officers to recalculate students' aid if a student receives outside money. So if a student has outside money plus money from Department of Education, we have to recalculate financial aid packet to make sure that a student did not receive more than student's need is and or more than student's cost of going to school. So it is possible when your daughter received a scholarship, her financial need was exceeded, and financial aid officer was required to go back and adjust some of her need-based aid. Now, it's also possible that after she received the scholarship, plus all the other money that she had, her cost of attendance at that school, went above the numbers that is allowed. So the financial aid office had to reduce some other money because the government requires us to do that. It's not something, we're not happy to do that because we want you to keep all the money that you have. But the government says that the government does not want students to receive more money than they're eligible to receive. And they make financial aid officers go after students, yes. I mean, it's not fair, I agree with you, but we have to follow government rules because government gives out, all the money, probably 80% of funding comes from a government, and we have to follow the rules, whether we like it or not. Yes.
So, adding to that question, if you receive an outside scholarship after an award was given, and that scholarship is free money. So would that free money replace other free money, or would it replace something such as a loan?
It's a wonderful question, and I can tell you it varies by the school. Some colleges, like at Notre Dame, we replace a loan, but some colleges don't follow that. Some colleges will take a portion of their own money away.
And is there any way that the financial aid department can tell you that in advance?
You could ask them in advance, yes. They're supposed to tell you in advance. So, for example, when you receive your first award letter, you can call financial aid officer, send them an email, and just find out what's your policy on outside scholarships, that I may be receiving. You don't even have to wait for your award letter to arrive. You could ask that when you go to the workshop or open house. Each college has to disclose their policy on how they treat outside scholarships. And again, it varies by the school.
So it's not automatic that the school will withdraw the government money?
No, some colleges go after their own money because some of their own money could be considered need-based. The government says if we have to fix the over-award, if a student receives more money, but they don't tell us in what order we have to fix it. We could fix it, we could take our money, or we could take away government money. And a college has a flexibility on deciding which way they want to do it. So I can tell you that, again, I think it's not fair. If you work really hard and you competed for external scholarships, I think it's fair to, allow you to keep the money the college gave you and the money from external place and just take away your loans. But then another point of view, if there is a very limited pot of money available and you received a scholarship from another place, somebody else could benefit, from getting that extra $1,000 from college money as well. So it's about being fair as well, but varies by the school. So you have to check with the school. Yes.
Question on the FAFSA. I think it's called the EFC.
Yes.
So when you complete the FAFSA, it seems like it doesn't really consider cost of living for parents. So let's say if a parent, the family lives in New York and they make X, Y, Z a year, but let's say another family makes that same amount, let's say a small city in Montana, it'll still give each family the same EFC? So
Not
what happens-
necessarily. It does look at taxes that you have to pay. It does give you the allocation for taxes versus New York versus, Montana. But it gives everybody what we call an allowance for living expenses. And your allowance for living expenses is the same regardless what state you live. But government is trying to equalize everyone who applies for financial aid. And the family contribution is representing an index. And we just use that number to determine what type of financial aid is available. Now, it is possible that, again, you could have two families living in the same city, and they have identical income and identical family contributions, but one family could pay more out of pocket compared to the other family. And the reason being is that one family tried to save money for college while the other family did not. It's always about choices as well. The FAFSA application does not ask you how much you pay for the car, but some people pay $200 a month for the car, while other people pay $400 a month for the car. So it's about choice, but it's also about, have you saved anything for college education? Because financial aid is designed to supplement family resources. It's not designed, to cover, everything. It's designed to supplement. And then if you can't, if you haven't saved things, then you may have to look into loans. Yes.
I was going to say, going back to receiving a scholarship and having an unsubsidized and subsidized loans, it usually affects, is it the unsubsidized that
It could affect both, or it could impact the subsidized. It depends which.
The one you don't want as much.
The one that you usually
That
don't
pay
want,
interest.
the one that you usually don't want as much is an unsubsidized
Right.
loan.
That's what
But
I'm
your
talking
scholarship could impact either subsidized or unsubsidized or both. It depends whether your financial need has been exceeded or your budget, whether you went above your cost of attendance.
One notice
Yes.
is that
For a lot of,
usually-
yeah.
And I want that one, I don't want that
Mhm.
one.
For a lot of grad students, usually their family contribution is really low, and the reason being is that they don't rely on their parents, so they don't report their parents' information in the FAFSA, so they tend to qualify for more subsidized loan. And so if a graduate student receives an external scholarship, very often they get to keep their loan money plus external scholarship, or their unsubsidized loan will be reduced.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's what
Yes,
happens.
yes. I mean, I want students to receive scholarships. We don't want students to borrow all this loan money. We want them to receive scholarships.
And I'd rather have it that way
Yes.
than not.
Yes, and that's, yes. But I think, the ways that undergraduate students are impacted because they have to report the income of their parents, for them sometimes they may lose a subsidized loan. Even though they don't want to lose it, we have to make an adjustment per government, instructions.
All about that.
Well, it's not about numbers, but, like I said, there are parents who save from a day one.
Choices.
Yeah, choices, and there are parents, who make other decisions and they don't have money saved for college, and I think, you have to start early and you have to learn budgeting and you have to learn, how to save money for college. Yes.
What do you have for stuff that you buy? Like
It
besides-
varies by the school. The school will tell you. So sometimes the school will tell you on their website, sometimes they will tell you on financial aid award letter. So you have to look in your letter, if there is any information about a deadline. And if it's not, then you could contact financial aid department and find out if you have a deadline to accept your aid. Usually big schools like Hopkins and University of Maryland will have a very strict deadline because they have a lot of applicants, and you may have the financial aid money that were given to you early, but there is an applicant who applied late, and who's waiting to find out if the money will become available. So that's why there could be a very strict deadline to meet. Other questions? Well, thank you so much for your time, and please use the websites that I gave you. They're very, very good websites.